I'm Ed Parcaut, host of Inner Edison, and today we have Jem Fuller. And I want to thank you for being on the show today, Jim. Is it okay if I call you Jim, not Mr. Fuller?
Oh, please don't
You're,
call me Mr.
you're
Fuller.
so
Yeah, yeah.
you're like me. You're so
Ed,
formal. Yeah.
oh man, yeah. Ed, thank you so much for having me on, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, where are you located?
I am an hour and a half away from a city in Australia called Melbourne. I'm down on the Great Ocean Road. If any of your listeners know about surfing, I'm right near Bells Beach, the famous surf break.
Dude, I'm from San Diego. I know all that. So
Uh-huh.
I didn't surf well. I did it a little bit, and then I got weirded out by not knowing what's underneath there. Because I don't know if you know anything about surfing in San Diego, but that's how the great whites, they go down there, they give birth, they come up, and that's where they eat and bite surfers in Santa Cruz, and then go back up to San Francisco, and then do the whole thing over again. Watch Shark Week, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So instead, I went dive. I would go under the water and diving, and the worst part about that in San Diego is you could only see as far as 10 feet in front of you. It was so dark. So It was even worse. So
yeah. And those great whites, man, they hurt when they bite. They hurt.
And what's worse than that is they spit that part back out at you. That's worse. They don't even eat it. Like, oh, that's horrible. That's a human. Yeah. That's not what I was looking for. Anyway,
exactly.
Enough about sharks.
Enough about sharks.
Yeah. So it must be tomorrow there. So can you tell me what happened? Can you tell me what happened?
I'm in the future. Apparently, I'm not allowed to tell you what to invest in, but I can tell you that we're all still here.
Yeah, well, you can't tell me to invest it because it wouldn't matter. There are a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but when we first started talking, I want to jump ahead, and we were talking about your book. How you said it was given to, who was it just given to?
It went into, it got selected to go into a gift hamper called the Hollywood Swag Bag, apparently, that got delivered to all of the nominees, all of the Oscar nominees a week before the Oscars. So supposedly somewhere in their dining room or living room or lounge room or something, my book is in the dining rooms of all the Oscar nominees. So that was pretty cool.
And your book is called?
The Art of Conscious Communication for Thoughtful Men.
And it's where? Amazon, Booktopia,
Amazon.
Anywhere?
Amazon, Booktopia, all of the above.
So I know I jumped ahead. I normally do this afterward, but I want to get that out. And we were talking about it. What's it? Okay, I know the title, but break it down for me.
Yeah. So look, I started writing a book about communication because through my years of coaching lots of people, I see that it's communication where we fall over in every level. And without communication, we can't take an idea and manifest it into reality. I mean, Einstein's brilliant ideas would have meant nothing if he couldn't communicate them, right? So from that fundamental level.
Or Edison. Come on.
Yeah, or Edison, right? Right. So we need communication.
Come on, you got to put it back to the show. I'm just kidding.
Okay. So Edison, his brilliant ideas, anyway, we'd be in the dark. We'd be in the dark now if he couldn't communicate them. All right. And anyway, so look, and then also, in relationships and watching people shout at each other now, where people have different ideas around something. Should you be vaccinated or not? Should you be this or that? Should you hit someone or not? All of this stuff, and people are just shouting at each other. It's not actually furthering the cause. It's not helping us evolve. So I started writing a book on communication broadly, had a book writing mentor. She said to me, you need to pick an audience because it's too broad. And she said, I think men really need to read this stuff now. So I made it for people who identify as men. But no, seriously, I think that I don't know about where you are, Ed, but certainly where
I'm in California, Modesto.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's going to be quite similar culturally. We, as boys, we were born into and indoctrinated into a culture with certain stereotypical guidelines around what it was to be a man. Right. Suck it up, man up, don't cry, boys like don't a girl, cry. All of this stuff, right? Yeah. And so that then has produced generations of men who don't feel okay to be vulnerable, don't feel okay to be in touch with their emotions, don't feel okay to express what they're really feeling, etc. And there's ripple effects of that. And I think it's time for us to evolve and learn better ways. So that's what the book's about.
You're not gonna make me cry today, are you?
What do you? Maybe we could go there. No.
Yeah, I just I know I'm joking. I like to have fun on the show. It's life's too short to not have fun with. And I own a mortgage company. I do mortgages for people. I'm sure they do that in Australia too. But
yeah.
I have to have fun with my clients, or it's just not worth it. And that same thing with this. I want to have a nice, enjoyable time while we're talking and having great communication and talk about things. And I totally believe in that. The one thing I've had other people on different podcasts, and I've had women where they don't know that besides the fact that we're told, the things that you just brought up, but we were told we could do whatever we wanted, right? We could be anything in this world, where a lot of women are not. And I think a lot of men don't understand that women aren't told that. And you need to tell your daughters, hey, you can do whatever you want in this world. Just like you tell your sons, you need to do the same thing to your daughters.
Absolutely, man. I'm a big proponent for, I was running women's retreats in Bali up until COVID. And when Australia lets us out of this country again, because we've been locked in here for 2 years, but when we can go again, I will run these retreats again. I felt very honored and privileged to be holding space for powerful, wonderful women to come on retreat. I'm a massive advocate for having more women in leadership roles. At the same time, though, there's another project that needs to be happening at the same time. We need to be rewriting the script of what the structure is of these systems that have people in these roles, because at the moment it's still very masculine in terms of get the result, bottom line profit, drive. Whereas what we need, I believe, is more human centric, more sensibility around how is this workplace and what we're doing for humans, right? Rather than just for the profit. And this is something that women bring. 98% of the world's violence is perpetrated by men. Women, just generally speaking, women are not as violent. They're thinking more about how is this good for the greater good. I know I'm generalizing, but yeah, man, we certainly need to work out the equality situation and change the game.
Right. And I also feel that it needs to be the best person for the job, period. Right.
100%.
I mean, I'm not trying to, I don't want to get, canceled talking about this, but you know how that whole thing works,
Yeah, I know, right?
But I see so many people, it's like, it's because of that. I'm like, and there was a lady who's going for the Supreme Court, right? And she's, the fact that you're labeling her who she is and will be the first one of this color or whatever it is, you've just taken away everything she's done for her whole life. Right. And then I think it's about what we've done, not about who we are color wise or anything. And I know I'm an old white guy saying this, and I guess I've never been discriminated against, but I lived in the 80s where we had affirmative action and other stuff. So I don't want to get into that. So the issue that I'm saying is it should be about the person and what they bring to the table, period.
100%, dude. And that includes you, regardless of what you look like and where you grew up, having the right to say something like it should be on what you bring and who you are as a person, and all of that kind of stuff. Everything you just said, you should be allowed to say that.
Right. We should be able to.
100% we should. So let's say it.
Well, it was like there was a podcast event going on in LA, right? And they're like, our inclusive policy. Every panel will have, we will not have a panel of all white guys. Just stating that is the worst thing you can do. We will have one person of color. We'll have one that transgender, one that is non-binary, all this stuff. It's like, really, do we have to put that information out there? And I'm talking as an unthoughtful guy, man, right now. But what I'm getting at is, I think we think too much about certain things and then just focus on helping people be the best at who they can be, period. Whatever that is. However you identify, I don't care. How can I help you get better in whatever you want to do? If you want to work for me, great. How can I help you succeed? That's what it should be about, not about anything else.
Yeah, man, I agree.
Well, you don't have to agree if you don't. Yeah.
But I wouldn't. If I didn't, I'd say.
But so I'm going to definitely get your book, unless you want to send me one signed. That would be
I'll
great.
send you one signed, man. Give me
afterwards.
Your postal address, and I'll have one sent to you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I always like to have that, because it's like I have a whole, I don't want to say a room, but I like, when I've had guests on who's on my podcast, it's nice to have their book signed so I can say, yeah, see, these guys were on my podcast. And it's nice to get to know people all over the world. You're the second person in 2 weeks from where you are.
From Australia. Wow, man, that's cool.
Yeah. She was a female who was in PR, and she talked, all about that and how she connected people, and then how she changed her organization and went out and did her own thing. But it's amazing, because how else would I run into you? Right.
Yeah, I know, right? And we get to connect like this. I love it too. Connection for me is massive. And when I look back to my younger days I spent the best part of a decade or more actually just traveling. I was just addicted to traveling. And I look back at the countries that I was passionate about going to, and they were all really, really different to mine. I wasn't that interested in going and traveling somewhere that was kind of like home. I wanted to go and travel somewhere that was nothing like home. And I look back now, and for me, it was about connection. I wanted to cross-culturally connect. I wanted to sit around a fire with a shepherd up in the Himalayan mountains who didn't speak any English and find something that we could connect over. That's what drove me. And so now here we are, and I can sit chatting with you in San Diego.
How long did you do that for?
I started traveling when I was 18, and I didn't settle down until I became a father when I was 33.
Wow. So you went, wow. So for me, I'm in the United States, right? We can go anywhere in the United States and see stuff. But, I walked the Camino de Santiago twice. I did the Portugal route one time. I did it from the other route the other time. My wife, I didn't understand or anything about what I've been to Mexico so many times, right? Because that's where so close to us. There's many different places there, but my wife's like, I want to do the walk. I want to do the Camino, and it was amazing how you connect with people. But the funniest thing is we ran into so many people from here.
Yeah, I know it happens like that, right?
Yeah, but what I'm getting at, but it's connecting with other people and other cultures, like you talked about. I want to connect with everybody. I want to help everybody that I can help, and what you're talking about, and this is all about your communication in your book that you've written, because we need to communicate really well. And we don't do that. And the current generation is going to be the worst at it because they have no soft skills. They look at a phone. I did an interview the other day at the city level where they had somebody from outside the government come in and sit on a panel for, to do a, they were going to hire these people. So we're doing it. And they wouldn't even look in your eye when they talk to you.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so you need to have that communication to understand how to talk to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it it's a dying art, and it's frustrating to watch, and people just shouting at each other across these digital divides of difference, and they, like you mentioned, canceling before, this whole cancel culture thing, really. And, that's not helping the situation. I don't believe communication is deteriorating. And so that's why I'm passionate about being focused on it and doing what I can to try and help.
Yeah, because people need to understand all sides. And the fact that you have to agree with them, no, that should have been that's not how it is. That's why we are different, and why we work together differently is because we are not the same. We are not, I mean that what was that Nike commercial from the 80s where they all, or no, that's Apple commercial where they're all dressed right and they throw the thing through the glass and breaks it, and everybody's no longer in gray and everything. We are not socialism. We are not communism. We are everybody's individual. You need to be able to be who you are, and that's what makes this world go around. And how you do that is by talking to people and communicating with them, just like we're doing here.
Absolutely, man. Because, if we're going to, and we should be drawing from as diverse a pool as possible to create global solutions, right? But the only way that we can do that is through effective communication. We need to be able to come together and communicate. And like you said, it doesn't mean I need to agree with you. It just means we need to be able to have a discourse so that we can broaden the bandwidth of potential solutions when we come together. I mean, global warming and pandemics don't discriminate. They don't care where you grew up. They don't care what you look like. They don't care what your religion is. These things do not discriminate, these global problems. And to come together and create solutions, we've got to be able to communicate this. If we're squabbling over vax or anti-vax, or if we're squabbling over the color of your skin, for crying out loud, if we're squabbling over these things, we are being distracted from the real problems, you know.
Right. And sometimes the political side of it wants you distracted. They want you focusing on this, and they don't, and focusing on not getting along. That's kind of how I feel we are in the United States right now.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
they want you to be at each other, so you don't understand what's really going on, because we have such a huge push here to go electric on cars, right? And it's so dude, oil is so bad, blah blah blah. It does this, but no one really looks at what it takes to get the rare earth minerals to make that battery. If you know what they've done, what that is, look at China, Google it, and you'll find these little places in China where it was a beautiful freaking place to have, a beach next to a beach. And now it's this big hole in the ground that goes down and down and down and down. And it's a mine, and they destroy the earth to get that.
Right.
And so are we really and that's the whole thing about communication. If people really communicated both sides of that, yes, it's a great idea. It's a great thing to get to. It's a great but you can't do it overnight. And the way we're doing it right now, we might want to find a better way to get that mineral before or come up with a different idea. And that's just about the communication side. I'm not trying to get a political thing. I'm just saying we don't communicate enough.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think when people get stuck in the differences, because people identify with their ideas, right? Our ego forms a sense of identity based on our ideology and our political standpoint and these things. And when we identify with something, us humans, we tend to get super, super defensive, and we dig our heels in, confirmation bias. We put the blinkers on, and we will defend our sense of identity to the proverbial death, right? And so you've got these people shouting at each other, and it's not advancing any cause. It's not evolving the situation. So I think we could do well to just loosen our grip a little bit on our opinion. We're all entitled to an opinion. Just loosen your grip on it a little bit. Don't be so fixated.
Yeah, because I run a radio show also locally, and we have people running for different offices come on, and I have all sides come on. And I just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I don't want to understand why you think that way. Why do you feel that? I want to know that, so I understand where you're coming from. And I think we've lost that part. Part of us don't really care what the other person's, where they come from, how they feel about things, and why they feel that way. And I think we all need to get back to that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What you just said is a big part of conscious communication. I write about this in the book, is seeking to understand, right? And like you said, it doesn't mean I have to agree with you, but before I make up my mind, I want to lean in. I want to try and get where you're coming from. If for no other reason than it broadens my horizons, it broadens my scope on reality. If I can start to get a bit of an idea of where you're coming from, especially if it's something that I disagree with, or in an area where we differ, if I can lean in and really try and understand where you're coming from, man, my horizons are broadened,
Right. And you might change the way and some people don't want to do that because they don't want to change the way they feel.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something but racism is not that's taught, right? My dad was a bigot when I was growing. That's why I'm not. And he was old Iowa farm boy. That was what they were, how he was raised. And you were taught that. Well, my kids aren't, I'm not. But, and again, you need to understand both sides. When you find out information about the other side, whatever that thing is, not person or whatever, but what idea, whatever, you might change how you really feel because you got the information from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people who have some kind of prejudice against each other have never met anyone from that group that they have prejudice against. So, there was this, I heard a podcast, and this guy, I wish I could remember his name, but he was a former neo-Nazi, and he was running neo-Nazi gangs or groups or whatever in New York, I think. Anyway, he realized that it was an erroneous way of living, existing, believing. He came out of it, and then he now is a mediation expert. He sits down and he brings neo-Nazis and people of color together around a table to communicate and connect, and they've never met each other before. And these people of a way of thinking hate these other people, but they've never actually sat down and had a cup of tea with them, so to speak, right? And once they meet, they go, oh my God, you have the same color blood. Oh, you love your children. Oh, you need food and shelter. You need water. I mean, like, hello. But yeah, so this prejudice stuff is people were brought up, taught something, you know, they were taught bad ideas. They latched onto these bad ideas because they didn't know any different, but they've never actually sat down and had a conversation, you know.
Right. All right. So we're still talking, we keep coming back to your book. So what else in your book? Because I don't have it in front of me. So
yeah.
What else is in there that we should know that we talk about communication?
Look, I in the book, I talk about this. I believe that the first place to start in terms of upgrading the level of your communication ability is the communication you have with yourself, right? This relationship with self, which is can be subtle and sometimes not so subtle. But what is the quality of your self-talk like when you you set yourself a goal and you didn't achieve that goal? What's the quality of the words like when you are having a go at yourself, or when you've done something that you're not proud of, or when you get out of the shower and you're looking at yourself naked in the mirror? What is the quality of your self-talk like? Because if you have a listen to it, most of us speak appallingly to ourselves, right? I'm not going to swear on your podcast, but we swear inside our heads when we're talking to ourselves. Oh, we can swear on this show?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're standing there looking at yourself in the mirror when you're not feeling good about yourself, and you're going, you fucking idiot. You absolute fool. You're such a dickhead, whatever we're saying. This is the quality of the way we talk to ourselves, right? And the quality of the communication that we have with ourselves or with anyone else is a big determinant to the relationship, the quality of that relationship. If you're abusive to your partner, the quality of the relationship ain't great. If you're abusive to yourself, which most of us don't pay attention to, but if you sit and listen quietly to this internal monologue, we are quite abusive to ourselves. And I believe that's where we should start. I believe that we should start to speak more positively. You can still hold yourself accountable to your values. If you behave in a way that you're not happy with, you can still say, hey, come on, man, you can do better than that. Right? You can still hold yourself accountable. Go, next time I'm in that situation, I'm going to hope to do better. Right.
But I'm only going to have one cheeseburger, not two. Is that what you're saying?
Dude, you didn't have to have 2 cheeseburgers. You're better than that. Come on, man. Right?
No fries. Just salad.
Small, just get small fries, man. Don't go the super size me. But I believe that's a place to start, and it's creating a health, because when you think about it neurologically, right? When you think about it on this kind of scientific level, your relationship with self, what's going on in here, determines the quality of your mind, and your whole experience of life is in your mind. I mean, we receive bits of information from the outside world through our senses, and we represent these bits of information in our mind. This is where we're experiencing reality from, right? And so the quality of our mind determines the quality of our experience of life. If the quality of your mind's a bit messed up, your experience of the big wide world is messed up. So if you want to improve the quality of your life, improve the quality of your mind. And this is to do with your relationship with self.
Wow. Very deep.
I know, right? I always end up going deep, man. I can't help it.
I kind of want to go back to your things in Bali, retreats. So some year, right? Probably in 23 or 24, when you guys get opened back up.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're no longer a penal colony.
I know, right? That's what we are.
I know. Yeah, I know history.
I
actually studied that in high school. Other people didn't do that. Yeah. I believe that they shouldn't take any statues down, anything down. Everything should stay in place, because if you don't learn the bad stuff, then we'll repeat history, and we need to know that. We need to leave that stuff up so that we understand, when they were taking down all the bad generals, which were all Democrats anyway. So that people would forget that that's all happened. What people don't realize in our history is the South was all Democrats and the North was all Republicans, and the South wanted slaves and the North didn't.
Right.
But then, people identify with Democrats, but they don't really understand the history of things because they don't look any further than what they hear. And that's about the communication stuff that we keep going back to, is just because you hear it doesn't mean it's right. You might want to take a little bit more time. My daughter, love her to death, middle one, she was a mouthpiece for the last, election. She would just take something and reiterate how bad this was. And this person is this person is. It's like, okay, I have no problem with you saying that, as long as you can back it up.
Yeah.
Right. You need to be able to back. If you can't back something up, then don't say it.
Yeah. And we do that a lot. We say things we can't back up because our ego wants to look good. Our sense of identity wants to look good. So we'll be when I say we, I mean humans. I'm generalizing, not all of us, but most of us will sit in a conversation and we don't actually know the fact about something. You'll be talking about some statistic and someone will go, oh yeah, that stadium there, it's got a capacity of 60,000 people. And someone will say, no, it's got, no, it's 73,000. They don't know that it's 73,000. They just made that shit up because they want it to sound like they know what they're talking about. It's like, how do you know it's 73,000? Oh, I know it. Well, I read it somewhere. And it's like, bullshit. Our bullshit meter goes off the Richter scale, because we want to look good. So yeah, I agree. If you're going to say something, make sure. I've just started saying, to be honest, I don't know. Right. If my kids ask me something, I mean, my boys are 18 and 16 now, for years, if they ask me something and I don't know, I just go, I don't know, Google it. And that might not even be true, So.
Well, you have to be careful with that one. Yeah. Duck, go it. Anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Whatever. I don't care where you check it. But the issue is just making sure that you live the best life you possibly can, right? Everybody talks about how you should live and everything. I always tell my kids, leave wherever you find better than you found it, right? Whatever that is. You come across some trash, throw it away. I don't care if you didn't put it there. Make the world a better place. And how you do that is make things better than you found it, period.
Yeah.
Help people out. Yeah. But
man, I'm so proud of my older boy. Is super resilient. He does not mind what people think of him. He built this resilience through being one of the kids who got bullied when he was younger. He used to get picked on and bullied. And he just developed this resilience where he does not mind what you think about. And you made me think of him then, Ed, because he literally does this in the school yard. If he sees somebody else's rubbish, he picks it up and puts it in the bin. The other kids tease him and mock him and bully him for picking up rubbish. And he just says, I don't mind. I'm picking up the rubbish. The rubbish needs to go in the bin. He doesn't like seeing rubbish around, so he just picks it up. I love that.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. I mean, bullying's bad, but it's different these days. And I mean, I didn't have the social media. I didn't have that kind of stuff when I was a kid. We had notes, so we never got into trouble. Thank God. Could you imagine the pictures that I never. Yeah. I feel so sorry for our kids,
Yeah, we were drawing rude stick figures and getting into trouble for it.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get out here, but I just want to say this before we go. It's really nice getting to know you. It's been nice having you on and learning about your book. What a lot of people don't know that I do know is you're in London, squatting in London.
I was squatting in abandoned buildings in London. Yeah. And
what year was that? What year was
that? That was 97.
Okay.
96, 97. Okay. And man, there are some amazing buildings. One of the squats that I was in, it was a friend of mine's brother, and he found this 3-story townhouse in South London. And it must have just gone missing in a family estate, like some deceased estate that had no next of kin. And so no one had moved into it. He moved in there, put locks on the doors. And the law at the time was that if he occupied this place with his own lock on the front door for how many years, I don't know, 12 years or something, he owned the building. This building was worth millions of pounds. And this guy, we were squatting. None of us had work. We were punks, mohawks and piercings and punk music, and we used to get our food from the trash, the food the supermarkets would throw out the back because it was about to expire. And all the food was good. We'd just go and get it, take it home, and it was awesome, man. We lived in some pretty cool places.
Well, it just goes back to where you never know where someone's going to come from. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just because when you're young, certain things happen doesn't mean that's who you're going to be when you're older. We learn from all our experiences. We learn from the talking to people, the communication. And I just think it's important to understand. One of the things I was going to talk about earlier when we were talking about, not caring, communicating and then not worrying about what people think of you. Because you shouldn't. And we were talking about, beforehand, haters. You're not important until you have somebody not like what you do. And then you have to have haters in order to be somebody. And at that point, you have to get to a point where you just don't care that people don't understand what you're talking about. And I don't mean this wrong, but Brad Lee said it best. You have to get to a point where you're putting this stuff out there. You just don't care what people think. Your message is out there and the right people is going to come to it. Just like your book. Not everybody's going to like it, but the right people will come to it. And that's what you want. Those are the ones you want. You don't want everybody to like it.
No, absolutely. And that's a ridiculous notion that everyone would like the same thing, And yeah, you're right. Joe Rogan spoke really well about the haters. He did a piece, he just spoke to camera saying, look, I appreciate that I've got haters, and for many reasons he went on about it, but pretty much what you're saying as well. And, well, at least, you've got some sort of reach when you're reaching enough people that some people don't like what you do or what you're saying. But yeah, look, I think, coming back to the communication piece, I don't mind what you think about me. But when I'm in communication with you, me is not the most important thing. What's more important is the communication itself, right? It's not really about me. If it's about me, I may as well just be talking to hear the sound of my own voice. I may as well be just sitting in my lounge room on my own, talking to myself if it's about me. But when you and I are having a conversation, it's more about the communication. It's more about the conversation. So I don't mind what people think.
Right. But like you said, it's not about me, right? A lot of people make it about them. And that's what you're trying to get at is I find by helping so many people, I get to where I want to be. And that's just from time people help me. I help other people. I get there. But one of the things you said earlier, and I wanted to comment on it, was talking about how people will say, well, no, it's 73,000 people in there. You don't want to be in a room where you're the smartest person in the room. You want to be in a room where you're the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah.
Because that way you grow and you learn things. And when you're in the room, when you're the smartest person, there's an ego issue. That's a problem. And that's something you have to get past. And once you get past a lot of that, then you're able to communicate better. You're able to do a lot more. And it's been really nice to get to know you today. And I know I said it earlier, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that because I'm definitely want your book. I'll probably is it on Audible yet?
It's almost on Audible. We're halfway through editing. It's been recorded. They're just doing all the editing stuff that I don't understand how to do. So we reckon by the end of April, it'll be on Audible.
Is it your voice?
It's my voice, yeah.
Thank goodness.
Aussie accent.
No, it's the best, man. One of my best guys I know, Steve D. Sims, he did a book, Blue Fishing, and he recorded Audible. And it's like, when he went to it, they were like, okay, we have 3 people, and they sent him 3 people who would record his. And he's like, they suck. They're all fake British accents. Yeah. And they're like, okay, well, you do your little sample and then send it to it. And actually, if you listen to him, he says that his English bulldog balls could do a better accent than these people. See, you can cuss on my show anyway. And so he, his whole thing, and then he sends in his sample. They go, okay, you won. You get to do your own book. And for me, when I listen to it on the Community Santiago when I walk twice, and it's like when I meet the people, I want to hear their voice talking about the book.
Yeah, man, there's raw stories in my book. Like I bear all. I'm telling stories in there that are some of my most personal, deepest, vulnerable stories. I don't want someone else trying to interpret that. Right. I want to share my story with you.
Yeah. And that's like movies, right? Netflix. We've gone through so many movies that there's nothing left on there. But now they're starting to put other culture stuff on there, and then they put the voice in their English voice, and it never matches. Yeah. One day, I'd love that somebody come up with a technology that it would actually closely sound like that person.
That must be getting close. I mean, this deep fake technology is coming, right? It's here and it's getting better.
Well, that's just the video part. That has nothing to do with the voice. I mean, because you're using the original voice. But what I'm saying is like, there's like, hi, this is, it's like, that's not his voice. There's no way that would be his voice.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Authenticity, anyway. Right?
Yes, exactly. Even though I hate that word. But anyway.
And
I think it's overused more than it needs to be.
Yeah. Just be real. Just keep it real.
Be who you are. And if people don't like who you are, somebody will. They'll just put out there who you are. People will find you that want to know who you are. And that's who you want. There's enough people in this world. I mean, if you look at California, we got 40 million people in California. Just in California. There's how many billions of people we have in this world, you'll find enough people who like what you do to get your message across to them.
Man, you've got more people in California than we've got in the whole of Australia.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're like the 10th largest country in the world. You know, if California was like an actual country. Yeah. And that's the problem with California is what they get away with politically wise, they move it across the country.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm serious. They try to get away with it in California. If they do, then they use it elsewhere.
Yeah, so, the testing pot. I'm going back to my 18-year-old, but I don't mean to favor him. I love my 16-year-old as well. But my 18-year-old the other day, I was doing a talk for 400 teenagers in a high school. I go around and I talk and try and help people, and I was talking about resilience and your sense of self and blah blah blah. And so I asked my boy, his name's Jedi. I said, Jed, I know that you don't mind what people think. And how did you come to that? How did you get to that? And he said, well, Dad, if I try and be someone else just to fit in, then I might fit in, but I'd be fitting in, but I wouldn't be me fitting in. So I wouldn't be me, and it just wouldn't feel good because I wouldn't be myself. He said, I'd rather be myself and not fit in. And then the people who are okay with me are okay with me, but I just get to be me then. And it's exactly what you were saying, Ed. What's the point of trying to be someone that you're not just to have the approval of others? Because even if you get the approval, you're not being yourself anyway. So who wants that?
How did he come up with that 18 when most people in their 50s can't figure that out still?
Oh, he's got an awesome dad. No. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I was thinking, I don't know your situation, whether you're married or not. I was going to say mom, but I don't know, No,
he's got a good mum as well. His mum and I separated 10 years ago. We get along better now than we did when we were married, but he's got a really good mum. But look, kids are different. I've got two boys now that I'm in my current partner and I have 4 teenagers between the two of us. But if I just look at my 2 boys, same parents, same upbringing, etc., chalk and cheese, completely different kids. One of them's introvert, one of them's extrovert. One of them doesn't care what people thinks of him. The other one cares what you think of him. One of them is more academic. The other one is the sporty guy, surfing and skating and blah, 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 right? So they couldn't be more different. And they had the same upbringing. So a lot of it's that nurture-nature combo, isn't it?
Well, you got to have twins, identical twins. And they'll come out completely different with the same upbringing and say, I'm this way because my parents messed me up, or I'm this way because my parents did so great for me. They're the same thing. It doesn't matter. You can only do so well for your kids. But your introvert, a good friend of mine, Brian Galke, he does this facial recognition stuff where he can tell you who you are by your eyebrows, how your lips are and your nose are and your cheeks. I mean, it's ridiculous what he comes up with. And he was an introvert. And he went from being nobody in his company to the vice president of sales by learning this stuff over a few years. And now he teaches it on stage and stuff like that. That's his goal, to do that. But it's that right there for even a kid to understand how to communicate with somebody by who that person is. And and most people go, you're full of it. It's like you have round eyebrows, right? So you think about people around you, like your family and other stuff. And then, so somebody was going to sell you something, they would make it about other people and bring that to you, right? So he's got. I mean, he's great to take to bars. No, I'm serious. He's great. We go to these events and then we go to a bar and I'm like, okay, I want you to talk to that person over there who's behind all these other guys and stuff. And so he picks on all the guys and then he gets to them. But what I'm getting at is it's again communication. It's about understanding what people want and give them what they want to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. And communication, as I was looking into it, and I did a TEDx talk recently because of the book and everything. So I wanted to look more deeply into communication. That's what the talk's about. So I looked it up, and communication comes from the Latin noun communicatio, which means a sharing. It's a sharing, and the verb communicare, which means to make common. So communication is about making something common, an idea or some directions or an emotion or whatever it is that you're communicating. It's about making it common. It's not about telling, or staying opinionated. It's about a sharing and making something common. And that's why we keep coming back to communication, because it is in the fabric of any of our, interpersonal or interprofessional relationships. It's the foundation of that. And we take it for granted. We don't spend much time going, how can I get better at that? But if you want to, if you are someone who is motivated to get better at being you, to evolve, to expand, to learn, to grow, to improve, right? If you're motivated in any way to do that, then looking at the way you communicate is going to be an effective pathway to that, I believe.
I totally agree. And we don't have to agree, but I totally agree with you.
Yeah. I reckon, Ed, whenever you and I are communicating, if I disagree, I just will. And if you disagree, you just will. I reckon that's the way we roll.
Yeah. I'll just say I don't agree with you. We'll move on.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But we haven't got there yet. So one day, maybe. Yeah.
We'll find something.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. Rugby.
Yeah, right. They play that in Australia somewhere, not where I'm from.
No, I don't know where they play there. I'm more, I'm football, which I played soccer in high school, which you guys, other people call football. And then, but I'm into, regular football, and I'm into, I mean, I can watch, only sports I can't watch is basketball and baseball because they're so boring. But
have you ever watched Australian rules football, the Aussie football that we play?
No.
Dude, it'll confuse the hell out of you the first time you watch it. But if you and I watched a game together, like if we went over Zoom or something and I showed you a good game of footy, we call it footy. Once you understood the basics of it, you'll love it. Absolutely love it. It's fast, it's hard, it's skillful. We don't wear helmets and pads. They tackle each other just bare skin, but it's super fast and skillful, and it's a mixture of all these different sports. I love it anyway. I reckon you'd like it.
What's it? I know it's getting off subject, but what sports is it a mix of?
So the ball is shaped like a football,
Okay.
not a soccer ball. It's oval shaped. You can use your hands, you can kick it, you can hand pass it. You can't throw it. You're not allowed to throw it. You can go in any direction. There's no offside. You can be anywhere on the ground, and you have to get it from one end to the other and kick it through some big sticks to kick a goal.
So is it kind of like rugby?
Kind of, but rugby, you're just it's always heading in one direction for your team.
I've never played rugby, or I just seen it, and I never understood it. So
it's more like Gaelic football. It's more like Irish Gaelic football, but its origins come from Australian Aborigines. So it comes from the indigenous crew that were here way before us. They reckon the Australian Aborigines have been here for possibly 60,000 years. 60,000 years, man. Wow. That's like off the charts. They're the oldest indigenous race still existing in the planet, despite the attempts of the colonizing people to try and wipe them off the face of the earth. They're still here. So they started the sport, and then it kind of got mixed with Irish and soccer and became Aussie rules football.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's really cool.
Appreciate you bringing that up for me.
Yeah, if you love sport.
Well, it's got to be good. It's got to be entertaining. I mean, tennis, that's not a sport. Those kind of
very
things.
Very entertaining. Hey, check this out. Right? The other last weekend, I don't think this is a spectacle. I don't think you'll see this anywhere. Last weekend, one of the sport's heroes kicked his 1,000th goal. And there's only 6 of them that have ever kicked 1,000 goals. And it took him 18 years. He's been playing for 18 years. He's one of the heroes of the game. When he kicked the goal, the whole stadium swamped the ground and swamped onto him. 25,000 people all swamped into this player. It took them half an hour to get him off the ground so they could keep playing the game. The game stopped. Everything stopped for half an hour. If you just Google or YouTube AFL Buddy Franklin, I'll email it to you. I'll email you the link. You check this out, man. It's I've never seen it. Not in soccer, not in rugby, not in football, nothing. And yeah, pretty cool to watch.
No, they have rules where you can't come on the field.
Yeah, same with us. We've got those rules. You are not allowed on the field. You're not allowed on the field.
We get arrested if we go on the field.
Right. So. 20,000 people went, fucking arrest all of us. Try. They couldn't do it.
That's funny.
They broke the rules.
You ever come to the States? I mean, I know you can right now.
Yeah. But... Yeah, no, I have been. I haven't been for a while. I think the last time I was in the States was 10 years ago. But I'll be back. I'm coming back. I've got some stuff that's going on, and hopefully I'll be there. Maybe even later this year, but certainly next year for sure.
Well, maybe it's some event you're at. I might show up there. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool. Maybe you could take me to go and see a game of. I don't know what sport do you go and watch?
Football, but I prefer.
Yes.
I like to watch the sports on TV because I can see everything. Right.
Yeah,
when you go in a football stadium, you're like, what's going on? Where's my? Don't get me wrong. We got people who have some really good seats and they have like this stuff up there, and you have the TVs. But if I'm going to be in that room, I'd rather be at my house where I have my stuff, my food, my whatever. I'm right there in my chair. I can see the big TV. There's nobody standing up in front of me. I'm like, dude, can you sit down? Can you? I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But Jem, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. And like I say here, if you guys like what we do here, please follow, subscribe. And again, Jem, thanks for being here so much. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, Ed, thanks for having me on your show, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. How late is it there right now? What's the time?
It's early. That's the start of the day, man. This is my second podcast for the day, but it's only 9:40. So
so it's like Spain. When I was in Spain, we were, different, 12 hours ahead, something like that. Right?
Yeah. What time is it for you now?
It is 4:00 in the afternoon.
Very, very
yesterday.
Civil, very reasonable.
Yesterday.
Yeah. So look, we're all still here in the future, just to let you know. So you will wake up tomorrow and there will be a world.
I appreciate that. I'll just keep calling you every day to make sure that it's happening.
We still here, mate. Yeah.
That's right. Anything happen yet? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.